Welcome to the Hospitality Influencer Show. They say managers do things right, but leaders do right things. Here, I'm very happy to present a leader who's exemplary, inspiring, and of course, very dynamic. Welcome, Mr. Greesh Bindra, to the show, who's the Vice President of Operation for the Surya Hotel, New Delhi. And this is the 27th episode. I'm so happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Raj.
I would like to give you a small brief about Mr. Bindra. With 35 years of experience in travel tourism hospitality industry, Mr. Greesh Bindra, the Vice President of Operation of the Surya Hotel in Delhi, is a passionate, hotelier, and affable personality. As much as his name is famous across the industry, so he's among many foreign guests who continue to keep coming back to the hotel and is leading regardless of the preferences for the brands. Nevertheless, his collaborative and people-oriented approach is and his passion to develop young professionals into leaders has earned him a tag of people's person. He has completed his general manager's program with Cornell University in 2006, and he has won many awards, including Achievers Award for the contribution of the hospitality at ITB Berlin, Patwa in 2007. In the same year, he won the award as the Hotelier of the Year 2006 by Safari India, and the Best General Manager at India Travel Awards 2015. Aside from his professional background, he's a dedicated sports person who spends his free time playing golf, and is also on the executive committee of IGTA, which is Indian Golf Tourism Association. Mr. Bindra is also the president of SCOL International Delhi, and there is much more to talk about him. So I would like to straight away go to the interviewing him. So I'm sure you're going to have a wonderful takeaways from him today, because Mr. Bindra is one of the most veteran in the hospitality industry. Once again, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks a lot, Raj. Thanks for that introduction. I think you've got carried away with it, but all the same, it's a pleasure to be here chatting with you.
The two things before we start the questionnaire. I was very much touched by understanding your passion to develop the youngsters tag of people person. I think that is something which really touched my heart. So what do you want to say about that?
Well, hospitality business is, even though we're talking about contactless right now, but it is a people's business. And for me, I think it is very, very important to develop youngsters, and you have to have actually a passion yourself to identify the quality and the leadership qualities in some youngsters who you feel have the potential to grow in hospitality. And I think that is one thing that really sort of gets me involved in it. And if I may say so myself, I proudly say that today I have almost 28 or 29 general managers in the country and overseas who have worked under me and who have actually developed and have been pinpointed by me. And so that's a proud moment to sort of be in hospitality. There are very few who actually nurture youngsters. And while I was at IHG, we had a very good program called, we were coming up with the Holiday Inn Express. This is a brand where we picked up youngsters from front office, from food and beverage, and developed them. We send them overseas to train as general managers for a year and a half or 2 years, and then come back and send them to properties of 120, 130 rooms, where we only had staff of 30 people, 28 people, and we developed them. So I think, that potential, and I'm fortunate enough to say that 3 of those general managers today are in the system who I had picked up, and they are working as very powerful and professionals in the industry. And so, this is something which I don't think I'll ever forget, and it's definitely worth mentioning.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Robert. And one more thing before we start the interview, that something I was very much excited about your DP with a picture of a lion. And I must say that when you just came into the screen, I could connect your eyes with the lion's eyes. Is there any kind of, have anyone else have told you about this before?
I must tell you, there are a lot of people who tell me about all of this and say, "My God, they're two lions together," and I laugh over it. In fact, that picture was taken last year. We were in Mauritius.
Okay.
There was a golf tournament that was organized, and I was part of the Delhi team. I'd won from Delhi, so they had taken 16 uh, clubs from India and overseas who had gone to play this event, and this was organized by Mauritius Tourism and Mauritius Air.
Okay.
So I was one of the Delhi winners, and we were flown there, and that is where, on a free day, Mauritius Tourism, that is Vivek, took us to all the golfers there, and I was the first one to go and sit next to the lion and tap him because he was so close, and everyone was looking at each other. I said, no, I will go first, and it was an incredible experience, I must say.
But I also would like to say, because your eyes is very powerful, because when I'm seeing from here itself, I can see that kind of, that real power in your eyes. So that's a small.
Thanks. I mean, I think it's the passion that is in the eyes, and I think that's what makes us go.
Absolutely. So can we start the question now? Can we hear from you your exciting journey in the industry and what made you to choose the hospitality industry?
Raj, it's an amazing story because way back when I was in college, I was still in final year college. Again, I come back to golf, and one day I went to the Delhi Golf Club to play a round of golf, and I asked the starter to fix my game, and he said, "Haan saab, aap aa jao." So I got onto the tee, and it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I played 9 holes. And while we were walking down the 9th hole, I asked the gentleman, we were introduced earlier, so I said, "So what do you do?" So he says, "I'm the general manager of the Taj Mansingh," and that was Mr. Ramesh Johar. Oh. And I said, "Oh, wow, Taj Mansingh." So he says, "You like hotels?" I said, and I come from a service background. My father retired as a general from the army. So I was, coming from a service background and being in boarding right through. One had never been so affluent, and one had never been to hotels and stuff like that. So I said, "I love hotels." So he pulled out his card and he says, "Come and see me sometime." So I said, "Okay, sir, pleasure." And so I finished my round of golf and got on my bike. I was driving back to college. I was in Delhi University, and somehow something got into me, and I turned around and went straight to the Taj. And I went in there, and I went to his office, and his secretary said that, those days there were no computers. There's a book. She said, "There's no point." I said, "Yeah, but I've just met him, and this is his card." So she said, "Okay, sit down." So I waited. He came an hour later, and then he said that, "Oh, so you're already here?" I said, "Yes, sir. I thought why waste time?" So he said, "So what do you want to do?" I said, "I want to join hotels." So he said, "You have to be a graduate." And I still had about 5 months to go for my graduation to get into the management. So he said, "So what do you want to do?" I said, "I want to join." So he says, "Today?" I said, "Yes." So he called the HR manager and he told him that he wants to join. "What can you offer him?" So he says, "So we can offer him a steward's job, a waiter's job." So he looked at me. I said, "Fine." And it's an amazing story. This Major Harish Sood was the personnel head that time. He took me down to the office. He made me fill the form. I went to Khan Market, got photographs done, came back, and 3 o'clock I was on shift in banquets.
Wow.
And I started working, and my dad was posted in Srinagar. No one in the family knew that I started working. They all thought I was in college. And that's how I started my career. And then one never looked back. It sort of just went from one to the other. And of course, last year, then for 19 years, I was ING with the Chicago Hotel Group. And last year, I finished with them as a regional general manager. So I was the number 2 for Southwest Asia. And I had 15, 16 hotels with Dhaka, a lot of pre-opening hotels reporting into me. And so I came back to Surya because this used to be a Crown Plaza from 2000 to 2010. And I was here from 2002 to 2008. And then because the contract finished, then Mr. Malhotra, the minute he got to know that I've finished with IIG, he gave me a call. And I was playing golf in Dubai. And I said, "I'm in Dubai." He said, "Can you come and see me?" And I said, "Okay, I'll come and see you." I came back and he said, why don't you join? We would love to have you back. And that's how I am. So I've already done a year here now. And that's the way I started my hospitality career.
Very exciting, actually. I'm sure you would have attended many management classes during your young years, as you come back to the hotels and maybe would have started some lot of classes. Which is the most memorable class you think that you have attended, and still that memories goes back in those days, and when you keep telling your trainees now about those memories of yours? Any particular class?
You know, there are a lot of training programs one has attended, because I've also, after operations, I switched into sales, and I was director of sales at the Hyatt Regency. Then I was a regional sales head for ITC before I came back into ops, because at that stage I thought that all the general managers, no general manager has a background of sales. So I thought it'll be a great combination to do sales as well as ops, because I was an ops person earlier. So that's how I came back into the hotel sales and then into ops. So training programs have been in abundance, but I think something that really strikes and comes back to me over and over again was in 2006 when I was sent to do the general manager's program at Cornell. And that was very, very exciting, because firstly, they only took 50 participants in that, and there was a shortlisting process, there was an interview, and then we were shortlisted and selected. And this was a 3-week general manager's program, which was amazing. I mean, the live experience, because they make you stay in a hotel, and apart from classes, you did a lot of stuff, talking, and the faculty are very, very high powered, people who have maximum experience. And some of the people who were there with me on the course were at that stage regional general managers and vice presidents of Carlton and of St. Regis and stuff like that. So it was super to spend 3 weeks with them and understand and learn luxury hospitality from them. Okay. And of course, I still remember there was a faculty member, Chikitan Kapoor, who was one of our he's an Indian guy, so it was a pleasure to have him. And some of the stuff he taught us in management of hotels was absolutely amazing. So that comes back to me. And whenever I'm talking to college students, or I'm giving a lecture at any of the IHMs or at the hotel management, I always talk about that, and I tell them that should be one of your aims, to get there and try and experience that thing, because it gives you a totally different prospect of the hospitality business.
Great. What attracts you to work for luxury hotels?
It's amazing, but for me, when I see the satisfaction on a guest's face, it actually makes me feel great. And obviously we all work for the guests, because we all say that guests are always right. But every time there are instances where you come across where you have to explain to the guests, and it's a culture that you have to build, because every time it's not, especially in this last 5 or 6 months where things haven't been the best, you got to educate the guests, because we have guests who walk in without a mask and who feel that they walk into the hotel and they can do nothing wrong. So obviously now when my security guy or my duty manager is telling him, they still try and push him over. But I don't hesitate. I just walk up to the guests and tell them it's for your own good. And I said, we have to build this culture. And it's not only for us, it's for your own benefit. It's for your family, it's for your household. And this is not only with guests. I tell the same thing to my staff, because that's also very important. And to see a smile on your, whether it's a guest or your colleague's face, is a different thing. In fact, whenever we have an induction program in the hotel, I mean, not now, I've been doing that for the last 15 or 18 years. I make it a point on the last day to take all my head of departments to the induction class, where all the new joinees are. And they all introduce themselves. And I tell them that this is a team. And don't hesitate, because you don't have to go only to your head of department. You can walk into any of the things. And my office door is always open. You can walk in any time. And my last sentence to them is that, you should be smiling when you come to work. You should be smiling at work, and you should be smiling when you go back. And that is what hospitality is all about. Because I tell them, I even tell some of my operators at times that even though the guest is not seeing you, it's the voice tone that you speak to the guest that is really encouraging and gets the guest to your hotel. So everyone is a salesperson. It's not only the sales team that actually sells the hotel. Everyone is a salesperson. And a guest always likes to see a smiling face. No one wants to see a sad face. No one wants to get served by someone who's, had a rough time. So, and this is a culture that you have to build. And I think in the long run, it makes a lot of difference, because the guest could have gotten to the wrong side of the bed and come down to the hotel, but we are there to ensure and satisfy them so that they feel, important, and they feel wanted, and they feel recognized. I think these are small little things that really make a lot of difference.
Very true, very true. When you dine in a restaurant, what else do you look at beside the menu? What else you think that you look into it?
Sorry?
When
can you repeat that, please?
When you go to a restaurant, let us say five-star hotel, you go to the restaurant for dining. Apart from the menu, what else you look into it?
I think the most important, like I was talking about smiling, because for me, I watch the order taker or the server very, very carefully. It doesn't matter whether, even if he's got a wrong thing on the table, but for me, the intention and the intent is very important. The service design is very important, because very often you walk into a restaurant and the person will put the water on the wrong side. Now, me as a hospitality person, especially when I'm there with my kids, my daughter is looking at me because she knows I'm going to say something or the other, and she's trying to tell the guy, no, don't do this, is wrong. So because I don't hold back, I tell them straight that this is the right way to do it, and this is the way, because it's always a teaching thing. You have to teach them. So because today you walk into a standalone restaurant and you're not paying small bucks. I mean, they're expensive. So I think that want, so even if you make a mistake and the server or the order taker or the manager understands, that's the best thing that can happen to you. So I look for those kind of things. I look for, of course, food is important, but for me, I would go back to a restaurant if I'm recognized there. I would go back to a restaurant if the service design is right, if they do everything right, and they are welcoming. And I think that's the crux of the thing. Basically, what I think we need to do is as a server, we need to get into the guest's shoes. Take a step back. I tell all my people this. I said, unfortunately, if a guest says something, we want to answer straight away. But there's no harm if you take 40 seconds, take 2 steps back, get into the guest's shoes, understand what he's trying to say, and then answer. And then I tell them, I say, you will find three solutions to the same question. Because if you are so keen to talk about something, you will just blurt out, and then once you've said something, you try and cover that up. So that is not the right thing to do. And I keep telling them the guest is also a human being. You have to understand that. We are all the same species. I understand that. So that's why, that's very important. That's the crux thing of hospitality.
Very right. Well, people always say that we can learn from our mistakes. But then why do you think that many people today are afraid to make mistakes?
I agree, because I think I tell a lot of my people, and I tell a lot of general managers, that unless you make a mistake, you will not grow. Now the story is, if you make a mistake, how do you rectify it? So you have to have the courage to ensure that you amend that mistake that you've made. I keep telling my people, do not push anything under the carpet. If a housekeeping guy has made a mistake, I said, if you put it under the carpet, you will always have an issue, because the guest may not say anything, especially a Japanese. He will never say anything, but they will never come back to your hotel. So it's a very simple and straight thing. Grab the bull by its horn.
Very true.
If you make a mistake, and if you feel you can't handle it, raise the level to your supervisor. If he can't handle it, raise it to the manager. And I keep telling them, that's why we are here. mean, basically, hospitality is only man management, whether it's an external customer or internal customer. Your external customers are your guests, your internal customers are your own people. So it's very, very important to have that within you, that in case something has gone wrong and you made a mistake, do not push it under the carpet. Talk about it, because you can always explain to a guest what has happened and how you can overcome it. So that these small things are very, very important. I mean, guests also understand. Say there's a dinner for 50 people and 80 have arrived. So you tell the guy कि अब तो हमको पानी डालना पड़ेगा दाल में. But the point is that dal you can put pani in it, but the thing must at least taste like a dal. Otherwise, say I'm sorry, I need half an hour more to cook it.
Absolutely.
So it's very, So I think we have to grab the bull by its horn and we have to face these things. That's the only way things can. I mean, that's why we are here.
Very true.
So that's just another culture that needs to be built in.
Thank you, sir. Excellent answer. Can you think of a time when you made the impossible possible? Many times, maybe.
Yeah, I was, it's an amazing story, but I will tell you this. I used to be with ITC as a regional sales manager for North India. And there was an Italian delegation, the Prime Minister's delegation coming into Delhi and Chennai. And I will also name the hotels. Since I was ITC, there was Taj had already sent their proposal for this delegation. And they were looking there was only Taj and the ITC who were in line for this, because they wanted the same chain in Delhi as well as in Chennai. And there's only these two hotel chains that had hotels there. And it was almost sealed there. In the meantime, I was approached and I said, okay, let me give it a shot, because in Moria they had said that it's tough to get this, it's already gone to the Taj. So I took the sales manager and I went to the Italian embassy and I met the counselor there, and he said, sure, the bid is already gone, but doesn't matter, I'll put you in touch with them and I'll send you mail. So we quoted for it and all. So Delhi Moria was absolutely fine. Now the problem was Chennai. So the inspection team came in first and they flew to Chennai, and I flew with them to Chennai, and they stayed in my hotel. And we went and saw the Taj in Bangalore. No, sorry, in Chennai. And I still remember the general manager was Mr. Farad Jamal, who was actually my senior when I had started, when I trained under him. So, and that's a great hotel that they have there. And the delegation was so big that we could not accommodate that delegation in one hotel. And at those days, we used to have two hotels. We used to have the Park Sheraton and we used to have the Chola Sheraton. So the guy, of course, he became a friend of mine, the chap who came with the inspection team, but he said that, this will be, so I said, it doesn't matter, we'll put the journalists, because there were 40 journalists also coming with this PM delegation. It was a big, 120 room, 130 room delegation. So he said, okay, then finally the inspections went out well and they were inclined towards the Taj, obviously, because Taj Coromandel could take all the guests. And Taj Palace was here in Delhi, so they could take these guests. So finally they told me that it is the ambassador's, it's left the ambassador's decision now. He has to give his final. So I said, okay, fine. And the ambassador had flown to Chennai to take a look at. So I said, when is he flying back? So they said he's flying back tomorrow morning. And I said, okay. So I booked my seat there. When I reached the airport, I found out, I said, I knew he'd be flying business class. So I went there and I said, what is the seat number? So they said the seat number is 2D. So I went and took out my credit card and I said, upgrade me and give me 2E next to the ambassador. And when we read the aircraft, obviously I was already sitting there. So I said, Excellency, good morning. There's that. And we started chatting. So between Chennai and Delhi, we had 2 hours, 40-minute conversation. I tell you, it still makes me feel very proud. By the time I landed in Delhi, I knew that the delegation was confirmed. The next morning, we got a mail saying that the delegation is confirmed. And it was June, I still remember. It was summers. The hotels were desperate to get business, and there were 120 rooms for a whole week. And that business came to us. And I tell you that these are some things that, which was impossible for us to get because it was almost sealed and almost closed there. And this thing, and then I came back, and Mr. Nakulanan was general manager at Morgan, and I told him that, sir, this is a story, and straight away he said, I still remember it was 2,900 to upgrade from economy to business, and in 10 minutes from front office, the money was given to me, and he said, here you are, and great deal, whether it doesn't matter whether we get the business or not, the next day we got the business, and it was a proud moment. So these are some of the things that,
I'm sure
one remembers.
particularly this story actually will, today, the sales team, they don't have that kind of, that fire in them, like get it done.
Absolutely.
Because the presence of mind, upgrading yourself, going and sitting next to the excellency, and I think it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for this story you shared with us. What advice would you like to offer of those youngsters who aspire to become a GM in the hotel industry someday?
Well, for me, I think there are 2 or 3 things which are very important. Of course, everyone talks about commitment. Commitment is there. Without commitment, there is no moving forward today because there is so much of competition, and you have to be totally committed and passionate. And I mean, I would proudly say I'm still very passionate about hospitality. I'm still very passionate about the job that I do. And even if it's 2 room nights, I hate to lose it to competition because that's the reason why we are here. So I think some of the stuff that we need to understand is, where people folly is in decision making. And what happens is we tend to be a little relaxed there, but I think it's important to take quick decisions. It's a very simple thing, the way I look at it. I mean, for example, if a corporate is looking for a conference and he calls you, and if you can respond to the person within 2.5 hours, basically you just respond and say, space is available. At that stage, he's only looking at to ensure and tell his boss or his managing director that space is available and we can do this conference so and so day. So if you can take that decision fast, straight away find out whether the space is available, how many rooms you want, banquets, what are the requirements, and revert to that. And then you can say the proposal we can send later. At least that person is clear in his mind that, yeah, I can go ahead and say these dates are confirmed. And now you can, because that manager may have to ask the chairman, may have to get dates, put things together. And then after that, you can keep doing the stuff. So decision making is very important. And I think we should not, and for me, if there is a mail that comes to me, I like to revert on it immediately. I mean, the mail that I write at 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, because I don't want to delay. And people keep telling me, so what are you doing? But I think, so this is something, something that we need to develop. Again, I would come back to culture. We need to develop this. And this is, if we do this and we follow this, 85-90% of the time you will not go wrong. And the second thing what I also would like to recommend and tell them is that, like I said earlier, listen to the guests, take 2 steps back, especially at a senior position. There's no need of answering straight away. Understand, get into the guest's shoes, understand where he's coming from, understand his problem, and then you will be able to solve that solution and give him solutions much better than just answering straight away. So these 2-3 things are very, very important. And of course, end of the day, I think, like I said, you have to be passionate about what you do. There is no shortcut. There is no shortcut to hard work. I mean, one has seen through life and been in hospitality, and I've had a vast experience in hotels, and I can keep going on and on and on. But these are some of the things that youngsters need to understand. And it's also, one thing I'd like to also mention to them is that when you go out and you're talking to a client, do not put competition down. You should be talking about your asset and the positives about your property. Do not put competition down, because I think that's not the right way to sell a thing, because everyone is there and they have, that property may have. Today the guests, especially conference organizers and admin people, are very smart. They know all the hotels very well. So you have to keep talking about your positives, what you can give. For example, how many breakaway rooms you can give. That is something that everyone cannot produce. So these are the little things that you have to. What are your various different designs and different things you can do on a conference tea break at 11 o'clock tea, at 4 o'clock? What are the themes you can put in? These are the things that attract people, because everyone's done the normal. So I think these are little things that one has to look at and get totally involved. And of course, show your passion to, if someone comes to me for a wedding, I make them feel that it's my wedding. And I tell them that I am responsible. Now you forget it. You have so many other things to do. As far as the hotel goes, leave it to me. Anything to do with the wedding is my responsibility now. And that gives a comfort level to the guest. And I think these are little things that we need to understand and learn and ensure we can put it down on in actually when you're working in a hotel.
Thank you. I'm sure your last message was a big, charge and a big booster for everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Greesh Bindra, for your time, and also it was a wonderful conversation with you. Beautiful stories, what you shared, which is a true story, which is literally, this true stories, the way you came up in the hospitality industry, and the closing of the deal was something amazing. And maybe I'm sure I can maybe take the stories in my training programs also. I'm sure your passion to the job is a big take to the youngsters today. So thank you very much for the time. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Raj. It's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
See you soon. Next time. Bye.